Hello everyone, I'm Victor and this is Clement
Hi.
and this is Abby.
Hi.
We are from Early Intervention Clinic and we are here to teach you how to effectively teach your child to wash their hands. Hand washing is an essential skill. Once we learn, we can practice it all through our life. According to NHS, washing hands properly removes dirt, virus, and bacteria. During the COVID-19 pandemic, regular hand washing has become inevitable. The virus that causes COVID-19 is currently understood to spread through respiratory droplets. When an infected person sneezes or coughs, these droplets can land on things around that person. All those who touch such items carry virus in their hands. If they touch their eyes, nose, or mouth with virus in the hand, they get infected. The best way to get rid of virus is hand washing. According to Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, it is most important to use soap and water to vigorously scrub all areas of hand, including palms, tops, finger between fingers and fingernails for at least 20 seconds to wash away all virus. There are 4 things that you need to have before teaching your child to wash their hand. They are running water, soap, something to dry their hands with, like towel, napkin, air dryer, etc., and a reward at hand. We can teach children to wash their hands in 2 ways, through naturally occurring situations, that is, the opportunity that naturally arises in our daily life, and through contrived situation, that is, we could set up situation in which we teach children to wash their hands. For example, naturally occurring situation could be after using the toilet, or before and after handling food, before and after eating, after blowing the nose, or after touching animals, or when arriving home after being outside. And the contrived situation would be like before and after messy play activities, before and after craft activities, during water plays, or before we could also set up a pretend tea party. In this video, we are going to show you how to teach your child to wash their hands according to the government guidelines. We have broken the hand washing into 8 steps. You don't have to teach your child every step. The important thing is that they are washing their hands for 20 seconds. The video will include a short clip on helping your child with each step. It is up to you which step you choose to teach your child.
So these are the 8 broad steps to washing your hands. I'll talk about them each individually, but we'll focus on step 5 in detail. Step 1 of the whole process would be to roll up your sleeves, if you have any. This isn't a massively important step. A lot of children don't like the feeling of having their sleeves rolled up. That's okay. If your children doesn't want to roll up their sleeves, then we can work on this step later. Step 2 is to turn on the tap. This is obviously crucial to washing your hands, but it's not crucial for your child to do. If you can teach this step, that's amazing, but this is another step that can be worked on in the future if your child is struggling. One thing to think about when teaching this step is that there are many different types of taps. In the videos, I will show you a tap with a turning handle. However, there are automatic taps, taps that lift, and taps that push. This can be confusing to children, so that it may take a while for them to get used to the different taps. A small tip would be to try and use as many different taps as you can find. Step 3 is to wet your hands. This step will help to lather the soap and can help the children see the bubbles and any areas that they may have missed. Step 4 is to get some soap. This is similar to step 2, as there are many different ways that you can get soap. There's a bar of soap, a pump, and automatic soap. Some of these variations can be difficult to manipulate for children. For example, a pump soap requires a lot of different skills. This again is a step that you can complete for your child if they are struggling. Similar to step 2, a tip would be to try and use as many different types of soap that you can to help your child gain exposure to these and learn the different skills associated with all of them. Step 5 is to wash your hands. For this, I will go through each of the steps that the NHS has outlined and recommended. I will show you different ways that we can teach the child these steps and how we can prompt them to help them learn. The steps I will go through can be fairly complicated and not all the steps are necessary. It is up to you as a parent to decide which steps you would like your child to use and which you feel are appropriate. It's important to remember that regardless of the steps you decide to teach, the government has recommended that we wash hands for 20 seconds. Some additional resources will be provided to help with this. Step 6 is to rinse your hands. This step should be fairly easy as it just involves washing the soap off the hands. Step 7 is to turn the tap off. This is another step that can be completed by you if needed. The most important thing is that your child has washed their hands. If they are stuck on this step, this is something we can work on after they are able to wash their hands effectively. Step 8 is to dry our hands. Similar to step 2 and step 4, there are a few different ways to do this: towels, tissues, and hand dryers. This is also a step that can be completed by you as a parent. As stated above, this step isn't essential to washing our hands and is something that can be worked on after your child can efficiently and effectively wash their hands. This video is going to show you what steps 1 to 4 will look like. These are the 6 steps that the NHS has recommended to washing your hands. I will now go through each step in more detail and show you a video on how we can help children learn this step. This step is simply rubbing our palms together and ensure that the palms of our hands are clean. The first prompt used in this video is called a full physical prompt. This means we will place our hands over the top of the learner's hands and perform the skill that we are teaching. This is a partial prompt. It should give your child more control over the action, but still allows you to guide them into doing it correctly. Lastly, this is a model prompt. During this prompt, we don't actually touch or physically help the learner. With a model prompt, we show the child what to do and they should copy us. This step involves washing the tops of your hands. During this video, we see the full prompt first, with the hand completely covering the learner's hand and fully controlling the action for them. Secondly, we see the partial prompt. This learner has some more control, but still being guided to complete the correct response. Lastly, the model prompt, where the learner is shown the action. This step should be completed for both hands. This step requires you to wash in between your fingers. 3 prompt types are the same, but this step will require you to push your child's fingers in between each other on the full prompt. This step is more complex than the previous 2 and may take a little longer to teach. The partial prompt again gives the child more control. And lastly, the model prompt shows the learner clearly that the fingers go in between each other. This step focuses on the backs of the fingers. We can see in this video that the full prompt requires you to move the direction of the hand during this step. The full prompt for this step requires a lot of manipulation, mainly because we have to change the direction of the hand. The partial prompt is closer to the wrist during this step to help with some extra control. And lastly, the model prompt demonstrates the direction and position that the hands need to be in while giving full control to the learners. This step focuses on the thumbs. The full prompt in this step directs the hand to the thumbs and helps the child to move the hand in the correct direction. The partial prompt in this step just directs the hands towards the thumb and gives the learner the control to move it. The model prompt demonstrates the action that should be performed. This step focuses on the tips of the fingers. The full prompt in this step should guide the learner's hand to the palm of the opposite hand and move it in the motion that is shown. The partial prompt guides the learner's hand towards the opposite hand and gives more control. And again, the model prompt demonstrates to the learner what should be happening. This video demonstrates steps 6 to 8. This just shows what the last few steps will look like. Remember that these steps can be done by you if your child is struggling. This video demonstrates the complete process from step 1 to step 8. It includes a demonstration of what each step will look like on both hands and how it looks all together. Remember that not all of these steps are compulsory. You can choose as many of them to teach as you think is necessary. And the most important thing is that hands are washed for at least 20 seconds. There are a few ways that we can teach these steps. One way to teach the steps is individually and one at a time. A second way would to teach all of the steps at once and jump in when you feel that your child needs some help. Along with some other resources we will talk about soon, we've collected some songs that you may find useful to play for your children. These songs include an NHS song, a Hey Dougie song, and a Baby Shark song, along with a few more. They can all be found and accessed for free on YouTube, and the links will be provided for you.
So when teaching these steps to your child on how to wash your hands, it's important that we use prompts. Now, physical prompts are much easier to fade compared to vocal prompts, and there are multiple ways to introduce physical prompt when teaching your child how to wash their hands. The current flow chart is a flow chart for a whole trial during a session. And at the beginning, you present your instruction. Now, once you've presented your instruction, provide 1 to 2 second delay before you introduce your model prompt. This allows a chance for the child to independently respond. But however, after 1 to 2 seconds, if the child produces the incorrect response or does not produce any response, you should introduce the model prompt. After the model prompt, provide again 1 to 2 seconds for the child to respond. If the child does not respond or responds incorrectly within 1 to 2 seconds, provide the partial prompt. Now this is repeated again with the full physical prompt. And once you've introduced the full physical prompt, if your child does not comply with the physical prompt, it is best to just terminate the trial and move on to the next one. If at any point the child responds correctly, deliver praise and reward. Now, to maximize on your reward, you should start by picking the right rewards for your child. Now, one way to do this is to allocate activities and edibles into highly preferred and moderately preferred. Now, you can do this by just thinking about the things that your child may like and the food that they may like to eat. Now, it is important to at least have 2 in each to keep it varied, and we'll talk about this later on. But back to maximizing on rewards. The first thing to keep in mind when delivering a reward is to make sure that it's immediate. Now, delivering your reward immediately make sure that your child know what they are receiving reinforcement for. Secondly, accompany the reinforcement with praise. This will make the reinforcement more motivating for the child. Thirdly, only provide access to the reinforcement when teaching the child how to hand wash. When picking the reinforcers, consider whether you are willing to limit its access outside of teaching scenarios. And fourth, as previously mentioned, vary the type of reinforcer provided depending on the child's response. If independent and correct, provide a highly preferred reinforcer. If prompted and correct, provide a moderately preferred reinforcer. However, if incorrect, do not provide any reinforcer. Now here is a hand washing poster that you can print and use when teaching your child how to wash their hands. To use the hand washing poster, print it out, laminate it, and stick the poster on the wall near the wash basin. Each time you complete a step with your child, mark the completed columns to show the child how many steps are left to remind yourself which step you're on. To mark the completed columns, put a tick with erasable pencil or a pen and wiping it off at the end of the teaching session to make sure it is ready to be used again in the next. Another way that you could mark the completed columns is to print the pictures, laminate them, put Velcro on them, and stick them in the completed columns according to the steps. This resource can be found in the PDF where you are watching this video. And that's all from us. Thank you for listening. All the best and good luck with all the hand washing.